What if I told you that football is about to make history in a way it never has before? Not just a little history, world-altering, record-smashing, never-been-done-before history. The 2026 FIFA World Cup is coming, and nothing about it is normal. The size is bigger, the scale is wider, the stakes are higher, and by the time this video is over, you are going to understand exactly why football fans all over the planet are calling this the most important World Cup ever played. Every 4 years, the world stops. Offices go quiet. Streets empty out. Billions of people gather around screens in living rooms, bars, and stadiums to watch 22 players chase a single football. That is the power of the World Cup. It is not just a tournament. It is a global event that connects every corner of the earth through one shared language, football. But in 2026, everything changes. FIFA is not just hosting another World Cup. They are reimagining what a World Cup can be. And the numbers alone will make your jaw drop. Let us start with the most important change. For the first time in history, the FIFA World Cup will feature 48 teams. Not 32, 48. That is 16 extra nations getting the chance to compete on the biggest stage in world football. Think about what that means. 16 more stories. 16 more nations with players who have dreamed their entire lives of wearing their country's jersey at a World Cup. 16 more chances for an underdog to rise up and shock the world. The previous format, which ran from 1998 all the way to 2022, featured 32 teams. And even with 32 teams, we got moments that define generations. Zinedine Zidane's brilliance in 1998. Ronaldo's return from a mysterious illness to light up the 2002 final. Germany dismantling Brazil 7-1 on Brazilian soil in 2014. Imagine what 16 more teams could add to that story. But the teams are only the beginning. The 2026 World Cup will be hosted across 3 nations. The United States of America, Canada, and Mexico. 3 countries, 1 tournament. This has never happened before in World Cup history. 3 host nations sharing stadiums, cities, and the responsibility of welcoming the world. It is a footballing experiment on a scale nobody has ever attempted. Mexico alone is making history by becoming the first nation to host the World Cup 3 times. They hosted in 1970 and again in 1986. Now in 2026, they complete a hat trick that no other country in the world can claim. The United States hosted in 1994, a tournament that surprised everyone by drawing record crowds even in a country where football was still finding its footing. And Canada steps onto the World Cup hosting stage for the very first time, a nation that qualified for the 2022 World Cup in Qatar after a 36-year absence from the tournament itself. Now let us talk about the matches. In a standard 32-team World Cup, there are 64 matches. In 2026, with 48 teams, there will be 104 matches. 104 games of international football spread across 16 stadiums in 11 cities. Cities like New York, Los Angeles, Dallas, Miami, Toronto, Vancouver, Guadalajara, and Mexico City will all host matches. The Estadio Azteca in Mexico City, one of the most iconic football venues ever built, will host matches for the 3rd World Cup in its legendary history. Here is something that might surprise you. The 1994 World Cup in the United States, a country that many people dismissed as not being a real football nation, still holds the record for the highest average attendance in World Cup history. Over 68,000 fans per game. The Americans packed stadiums to the roof for a sport their own leagues had barely developed yet. Now imagine what 2026 will look like 3 decades later, with football having grown enormously across North America. And here is another fact worth knowing. The expanded format means that regions of the world that have historically been underrepresented will now send more teams. Africa goes from 5 teams to 9. Asia goes from 4.5 spots to 8.5. CONCACAF, the region that covers North and Central America and the Caribbean, goes from 3.5 spots to 6.5. This is not just bigger. This is more democratic. More of the world gets a seat at the table. Football has always been more than a game. Carries culture, carries identity. It carries the hopes of entire nations on the boots of 11 players. When a small nation qualifies for a World Cup, it does not just mean they are good at football. It means an entire country gets to feel seen on the world stage. It means children grow up believing that they belong at the highest level. The 2026 World Cup, with its expanded format and 3-nation hosting, is sending a message to the world. Football belongs to everyone, and commercially, the scale of of this tournament is almost impossible to comprehend. FIFA projects that the 2026 World Cup could generate over $11 billion in revenue. It will be broadcast in every country on Earth. The final alone could be watched by over 1 billion people simultaneously. That is 1 in 8 human beings on the planet watching the same 90 minutes of football. The 2026 FIFA World Cup is not just the next World Cup. It is a turning point, a moment where the sport decides to grow louder, reach wider, and dream bigger than it ever has before. 48 teams, 3 nations, 16 stadiums, 104 matches, and 1 trophy that every single one of those teams will be fighting to lift above their heads in front of the watching world. Football has given us some of the greatest moments in human sporting history, and in 2026, it is about to give us more of them than ever before. If you want to stay ahead of everything happening at the 2026 World Cup, the teams, the stadiums, the stories, and the history, make sure you subscribe right now. Drop a comment below and tell me which nation you think is going to lift the trophy in 2026. I read every single one, and I will see you in the next video.